Welcome back. I'm super excited about this episode as this is the first time I have done an interview for the podcast. Today I have a special guest with me, Mr. Adam Copeland. I met Adam at a STEM teaching conference where he was the keynote speaker, and I was inspired by his speech. He discussed positive leadership, but I saw how his ideas about leadership related to personal growth. It was from his speech that I got the idea of our brains being like an apple tree and created episode 21. I shared this with Adam, and he asked to join me on an episode to talk further about the connection of these two ideas. So let's get started talking to Adam right now. Well, hello and welcome, Adam. It is a pleasure to have you with me today to talk about what I believe is a very important topic. I'd first like to share with the listeners how we met. I recently was at a STEM conference where Adam was the keynote speaker. I was very moved personally by some of the things that he said in that speech and reached out to him to let him know that. And then from there, we've decided to talk further about this and share our discussion with all of you. So, Adam, would you please tell our listeners about yourself and about that speech that you gave at the conference I attended?
Yeah, so I am, first of all, thanks for having me. This is incredible. It's wonderful for the opportunity. This is amazing work. And I'm the assistant superintendent at Morgan Local Schools, but I am also a John Gordon certified trainer. And so I have different keynotes on different things of the amazing books that John has written over the years on positive leadership and how it can just help, obviously, in businesses. But for me, it's more of a personal level, how it can just help each and every one of us become better and find the joy in every day, because there is joy there. We just got to find it some days, because some days are really hard. So the Appalachian STEM Collaborative asked me to be the keynote speaker on the power of positive leadership, and did part of that keynote that day, and kind of led us to have this deeper conversation. And like I said, it's amazing work. John's done an incredible job all over the country now doing it, and so it's a pleasure to be a part of the team for him, and just continuing to try to make this world more positive, one person at a time, one day at a time.
Exactly. That's wonderful. Coming at this from the survivor of childhood trauma person, so many things that you said in that speech about being positive and about bringing joy into our lives is something that is very impactful to survivors, because we didn't experience that in our childhood. And so while, yes, you're bringing it on about leaders, I feel that there's a lot of connection between the two groups of leaders and survivors, and how we need to find that joy in life every day, and how difficult, like you said, it can be.
Yeah, I think that is very accurate. There are so many similarities in that. And one of the things I've talked about a lot is, when we say power of positive leadership, everybody's a leader. And people don't understand what all leadership entails, but as we talk through in this, through the workshop and different things, a leader is someone that there's somebody watching what you're doing today in your life, and they're going to model what they do based on how you're performing every day and what you're doing. And anyone who's been through trauma, there are a lot of people looking at someone else who's been through trauma and say, how do I get through this? How do I get out of bed every day? How do I go put my shoes on and keep working? That is leading someone else who's been through this. And so there's somebody today looking at your life, and they're modeling what they're going to do tomorrow based on how you're working through the problems and the issues. And one of the things we talk about in the keynote and all of John's work is your vision has to be bigger than the circumstances. We're all dealt some tough circumstances. Today we're talking about trauma. There are major circumstances and stumbling blocks that have been placed in front of so many people in this realm. but how we choose to overcome that every day, it is a choice, and that's a challenge. But
Yeah.
somebody's
Yeah.
watching how we're doing that, so that's where this piece comes in, and I think ties in directly with what you're talking about.
I couldn't agree more. And you're speaking about typically leaders in the business world out in society. But I have found through my healing journey, I'm having to be a leader for myself. And hopefully, like you were saying, then I could lead others into having
Right.
better lives as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the areas in which that comes out is my great grandma. I think I said this in the thing. My great grandma used to say, "What's in the well comes out in the bucket," and
Mm,
it's got to be in you to come out through you. And so, being able to find that inner peace and inner joy every day in some small aspect, and we talk a lot in this work about every step is a step. Don't think you're not going anywhere. Whether if you got out of bed and you walked in, if you got an inch farther in your journey today, you've taken a
right.
step in the right direction. And so
For sure.
it's got to be inside of you. You got to find it inside of you first to be able to help others and lead others through the journey that they're on to.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So you keep referencing on Gordon, his the power positively. Um, he argues that building great cultures, committed teams, see how these qualities also pertain to personal is positivity is a choice. So for those experiencing anxiety and depression after trauma, you mentioned, just getting out of bed some days can be difficult. Um, what do you have to say about finding positivity in our lives, especially when
Yeah,
we've grown up without it for so long?
right. I think that's the part of this that is such a I would say the challenge. I think I shared. I'm not naturally positive. This is not a something I always had in my life. Now, I did not have major childhood trauma by any means, but it is something that through it's been a process for me every day to wake up and say, I'm going to choose a different way.
Mhm.
This world is not naturally positive either. It tries to find the issues with every day instead of finding the joy in every day. And I think that one of the things is not being Pollyanna positive is what John would call that. That fake positive and just on the surface looking like the
Right.
part. It is finding and we talk about it a lot, is faith and fear. Um, Besides the letter F, what they have in common is the fact that they both believe in a future that hasn't happened yet. Um, and if you're experienced and have experienced major trauma in your life, you got to find a way. Faith believes in a positive future. Fear believes in a negative future, but neither of those things have happened yet. And you know,
Right.
being able to look forward and say, all the things that have happened in my past, I'm going to continue to look forward and find a more positive future for me and for everybody around me. That's where the faith and fear come into play, and making that choice every day that I'm going to choose today to find the joy in what is coming
Right.
forward because it hasn't happened yet.
Right. Right. Um, what I have noticed in my experience is that everything I experienced was the normal for me. Um, Negativity was normal. I didn't know what positivity was until some things happened or I made some choices. I was kind of like enlightened a little bit, and then I was like, "Ooh, I like this. Yeah, I want more of that."
Yeah.
Um, and so I chose then to go on and learn about it and make that choice, like you were saying. I want more positivity. I'm going to go find it and find a way to make that happen for me in my life. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
how would you say that then we can change that mindset? Because I don't feel that uh, people who are maybe kind of stuck in victimhood of their past necessarily know about how to get it or even what it is. How would you recommend that what's ingrained in our mind many years?
Well, that's a good one. That's a great question. I think I would say it's a lot of times I would put it this way. There has to, as I said before, the vision has to be greater than your circumstance. Vision's great, and we all need somewhere that we're going. In your situation, you were looking at you didn't know once you felt it for the first time what that positivity could be. You wanted more of it. So let's just say our North Star, that North Star out there, that vision is a more positive future. That's great to talk about, but again, it seems so far away that it can become overwhelming to just say, I'm never
Sure.
going to get there. I think the biggest way to do that is to pull out a microscope and take 3 or 1 Zoom focused actions that I'm going to focus on today to get me a brighter next 5 minutes, a next 10 minutes. How am I going to find a Zoom focused action to get me to lunch today that says, I'm going to have a great morning? As they
Yeah.
always say, good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to make it to lunch. And I'm going
Yeah.
to find a way to be positive when I get there. And I would say that those Zoom focused actions are the ways that in these circumstances that we can do that. It's great to have the vision and the North Star. We need it. But at the end of the day, we need a way to get there. And if you take off tomorrow in your car and try to get to California and you refuse to stop at any gas stations, you're not going to get very far.
Good
So
point.
we have to
Yeah.
find ways throughout our day to fill up.
Mhm.
We got to take a 30-minute, we got to take a 30-minute, okay, I'm going to go through this and then give me 5 minutes to reset myself, fuel myself back up and find that Zoom focused action to get me through lunch and then to dinner and then to bed and then back up in the morning. I think
Absolutely.
that's the way, is just Zoom focused actions every day and not a
Kind
bunch of them.
of baby steps of how we
Yes.
can get through the day and figuring out what works for us. It's funny. You kind of just summed up how I have kind of gotten through my healing journey so far. And that was to focus on one thing at a time and
Right.
then kind of find some little self rewards. Okay, once I get through this, I can have 10 or 15 minutes to read a book
Yes.
or to sit
Right.
outside or, yeah, that's great.
I know John talks a lot about gratitude practices and finding ways, even
Mm,
through major trauma,
yeah,
finding gratitude practices. He takes a gratitude walk every day. For me, I'm a handwritten note guy. I write handwritten notes to
mm,
people of just telling them how thankful I am for them and what they do and how those things have impacted me. And I think those are finding gratitude ways to express what you're thankful for also shows you even through some of our worst circumstances in life, there are things to be thankful
there are
for and
positive things.
people that we can
Sure.
be thankful for to help you through the journey.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point too, because again, back to trauma survivors, we're programmed to focus on that negative stuff. And so I've had to at times really dig deep to find the positivity, to find what was good in the day or in that situation. Um, but wow, once I find it,
Yeah,
yeah, God, that's a good feeling. Yeah, that feels good. There was something
I
good there.
think,
And it becomes easier
yeah,
the more you do it.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah,
I say a lot. 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 4, 4 leads to 8, and then you're
yeah,
pushing.
absolutely.
One day
Yeah.
leads to a second day, 2 days.
Hmm.
But I think perspective changes a lot of that.
Sure.
They say how you see the world determines the world that you see. Um, I use this analogy a lot. You're driving down the road, and I've been this person on both sides of it. You're driving down the road at 60 miles an hour and you have a tire blowout. You pull to the side of the road, not flat, like blow out, like, and you pull to the side of the road. When you see that person who pulls to the side of the road, if you get to experience the first 30 seconds in which they get out of the car, um, there's probably some words that you probably don't want kids to hear, and that there's probably a little
Sure.
tire kicking, all of the things, right? The
Yes.
perspective is that a negative event just happened, which is true. It does
Yeah.
stink that that happened.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But our perspective of pulling over could also be walking around to the other three tires and thanking them for not blowing out because you
Mhm.
did make it to the side of the road. You are still in one piece. You are going to be
Absolutely.
20 minutes late if you know how to change a tire. If you don't know how to change a tire, AAA is it's going to be an hour, but you
Yeah,
will get there
exactly.
eventually.
Absolutely.
But you are able to make it through the rest of your day. If two of those tires would have blown out, but the perspective is a positive perspective again or a negative perspective, and it does change the outcome. Your tire is blown. That's the outcome. It happened.
Right. Right.
But which perspective am I looking at it with? And there's so many areas in life that today we just find and focus on that negative perspective instead of finding the positive. It doesn't always change the outcome, but it gives you the most positive outcome for the event that you didn't control.
I recently did an episode about perspective, and then talking about how it's connected to reality. And I believe as humans, we confuse the two. If it's my perspective, it is my reality. However, in the situation you just talked about, the reality is the tire blew.
Yep.
That's the only reality there. The perspective then is how we handle exactly what you said. Yeah. Are we going to cuss and kick and throw a fit, or are we going to be thankful that we're still standing there? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a great point. I'm going to jump to another topic. You also talked about the book, The Energy Bus, also by John Gordon. There are 10 rules in there for being a leader and staying positive. And again, I found them so relevant to the healing process from trauma. So as we talk about these rules, I'd like to go through those, if that's all right, and get your perspective on how we can implement these rules in our life. So the first one is that you're the driver on the energy bus. You take responsibility for your life's direction. Some survivors, I think, struggle to see a way out of that negativity, or some use it as an excuse, really, for whatever happens in their lives. So can you talk more about being the driver? How do you take over that control?
Yeah, I think first of all, I would say The Energy Bus, the book. I know John's had crazy amounts of bestsellers and all the different things. This was the transformational book for my life. It led me down the path to the Power of Positive Leadership and all the other things and getting the certification. But this book was the one. And I think the number one rule we were just talking about, you're the driver of your bus. There are way too many times in our lives that we let others drive our bus. I think if this rule of any of them is the one that we should come back to, and I think that's why I love it, it's number one. You should start every day understanding that you drive the bus. Nobody, unless you allow them, no one else drives your bus. Gandhi said, I will not let anybody walk through my mind with their dirty feet.
Love that one. Yeah.
There are so many people that we allow steer or drive our bus or push us to the side of the seat. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you're on this journey, when you realize, in your case, when you realize you're on this trauma journey and you didn't understand it, waking up every morning and going, I'm driving this bus. No one else is going to drive. I had a deep conversation with my daughter the other day, again, very upset about something. And she's in fifth grade, 2 more days of fifth grade and she'll be in sixth grade. And she hits me with well, this kid said this. And I said, okay, are they picking the kind of car that you're going to buy when you're 16 years old? Are you having that car? Are you going to them and asking them what kind of car to buy? She said, no, Dad, why would I do that? I said, then why did you just allow them to drive your bus? Why did you allow them to say something that's affecting the next part of your day and your life? Like, that person isn't going to be doing that for you. So we can't allow them. And it goes back to your drive. You are in control. I think, again, as you talk about your journey and everybody that's listening, that's going through this journey, you have to understand, I know in these situations, it may feel like you're not in control a lot of times,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
are the driver of the bus. And finding out how to steer it and how to navigate through isn't ever going to be easy. But in this recovery process, you're 100%, you're the driver of the bus. You choose where you're going that day.
Absolutely. I will recognize that that has been a struggle for me throughout my journey, just because I call them the voices, the dark voices that come in from that trauma. I've allowed them to drive my bus for so long.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the moment at the seminar when you were talking about habits and how we can allow our habits to, it was like the light bulb went off and I went, oh my gosh, that's a terrible habit I have of allowing those thoughts to come in and control what's happening. I'm allowing them to drive my bus.
Right. Absolutely.
So that I almost started crying right there in the middle of the conference, and I'm like, get a grip, Michelle. But it was phenomenal for me to recognize that. And so that has been a huge impact for me. To take over that responsibility and be like, no, you're not driving today. No, you're not. I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of this is understanding that piece and
For sure.
I think I talked about Dr. James Gills in that portion, and talking about our habits and what we allow. Like as you said, there are many voices that come over, and we allow so many negative truths to enter into our life of what either people have said or what society wants to influence you to believe. But Dr. James Gale says he talks to himself instead of listening to himself. He tells himself why he can go. Like he can tell, I'm not going to, we got to speak truth to the negativity that society or people or, in these situations they're trying to push onto us. We've got to speak truth into that. And again, even for me, it's a daily battle to, as an assistant superintendent, there's some people who want to speak some real negativity into even the good things that you're trying. You got to speak truth into that in every daily life.
Yeah. That was another quote that you gave that really impacted me again as well. And for me to say, well, wait a minute, what am I doing? What am I allowing here? So that was huge for me as well. The next rule, desire, vision, and focus. Move your bus in the right direction towards that positive vision. We've talked about this, I feel, pretty much already. This is a decision you have to make. It's just something you have to do for yourself. I feel some survivors out there, again, they just don't know how to do it. They're not sure what to do. But that's part of the reason why I do what I'm doing, is to try to get that message out there so that they see it. We have the power to change it for ourselves.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we've talked about this piece. It's a matter of, taking the Zoom focused action to point yourself in the direction today. This is where I'm going. This is how I'm going to get there. Whether it's slow and steady or that's a breakthrough day and you are running that day, it is toward the right vision and purpose that you want for your life.
Absolutely. The next one is fuel your ride with positive energy. Find the people that support your healing. Wow. I mean, it seems so sensible. Like, well, yeah, duh, you put positive people around you and you'll feel positive. But in relationships and in life, I don't have to tell you this, but you can't always get rid of the people who aren't positive. If you have a job, right. Typically there are those people, and family. There is the option of ridding yourself of the negative people, but that's not always a choice. So this one I enjoyed because I make it a point to be around those positive people as much as possible. But when you can't, don't let them drive your bus.
Right. Yeah. I think, again, it goes back to that number one goal. You're driving your bus and there are certain people that are on your current bus because that's where life's put them. And,
Right. Right.
John would call them energy vampires. They just suck the life out of you. But
Right.
they're on your bus because they're in your circle or they're at your workplace or they're wherever it may be. And there's some
Exactly.
of those people that are speaking that negative truth to you.
Hmm.
You have to rearrange their seat on the bus, and sometimes you have to ask them to leave the bus.
Right.
When
Absolutely.
we do
Yeah.
this one as a workshop, the power or the energy bus is a workshop. You invite people. You write a ticket to invite people on your bus. And then you also ask some people, hey, I know we've been really close for a long time, but I'm going to need a break. Now, in the work setting, you can't just fire everybody. That doesn't work. Like
Right.
you just can't
Right.
say, oh, I'm out. I'm out.
Right.
But there
And
are
you can't always
ways to
pick.
coach them up.
You have bills to pay.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are ways to, what's an energy vampire or any vampire not like? They don't like the light. So you have to shed light on them to say,
Yeah.
hey, you are really sucking the life out of me right now for A, B, and C reasons. And I need to find a way to be more optimistic and believe more in what's coming. And this is one of the ways I have to do that.
Yeah.
The biggest energy vampire in person, I would say, that was in my life, I guess that wasn't allowing me to fuel with positive energy. This is crazy, but I wrote him a love letter. And I told the energy vampire all the things that I liked about them. Because when you're writing a love letter, guess what you're doing? You're not writing bad things, right? I mean,
Right.
you're writing all the things that you like about the person. And what I realized when writing this letter was the person was an energy vampire because they felt disrespected. They didn't feel like what they were doing was valued. And I never had to give the letter. What it did was change my perspective on how I treated that person.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then their perspective started changing toward me. It wasn't on purpose, but that's one of the ways that we can do that.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So we just talked about a couple of these in that conversation. Invite people on your bus. You decide who you want there, or like you said, rearrange the seats, and don't waste energy on those who don't get on. That's been a struggle for me. With the trauma part, I felt rejected and I needed acceptance. And so I wanted everybody to be on my bus. Come get on my bus. You'll love it. You'll love me. Please love me.
Yep.
But now I've learned there's people I don't need those people on my bus. And then the next one, no energy vampires allowed. Protect your energy.
Yes.
Removing
I will go
toxic.
back
No, go
if
ahead.
it's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Let me go back to
Yeah.
don't waste energy on those who don't want to get on the bus. You said that's a struggle. It's a struggle for everyone. I think
Mm,
this is one of the most challenging rules for the ride of your life. Now, again, it's your life, it's your bus, you're driving it. But so many times we want those people, again, think about trauma. Those are the people that you knew. You want them to
right.
see you
Right.
valued or appreciated or all of the
Absolutely.
things. But
Yeah.
there is a moment in time where you have to say, I cannot allow you on the bus. I
Right.
can't allow you on the bus. And then I can think many times where you've invited someone that you think you guys are like this is my guy or this is my girl,
Right.
like,
Yes.
and they're
Excellent point.
like, no, no.
Mm-mm.
And it hurts. That hurts. But
Absolutely.
we only want people that want to be on the bus. And if you have the right culture and mentality in your own life, as we get down to, enthusiasm attracts more passengers.
Yes. Which is the next one. Right.
Once you get to where you want to be internally, there are a lot more people that want to get on your bus too. And that will naturally
Yeah.
start to happen.
Yeah. I see it in my own life now
Yeah.
that I'm on my healing journey, and now that I'm seeing my worth and seeing what I want in my life, more of those people are being attracted to me. I'm just, they're coming into my life. Yeah, it's great. Um, which then goes to the next one of love your passengers, build those strong relationships. If it's a person who either doesn't want to be on our bus or shouldn't be on our bus, that's not going to happen. Those strong relationships are not going to happen. And what I have found is the people who want to be on my bus, those people who are positive, the relationships are so much stronger. And it's to me, it's almost like crack. Like I want more of that. Now that I see what positive, healthy relationships are, I can't get enough of this.
Right.
And that has made it easier to determine who gets to sit at the front of my bus or who gets kicked off. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a big part of it. Loving your passengers is again, it's your journey through it. You want to be around people that you want to be around. And we don't have to spend, we get a very short amount of time on this world. And so we should spend it allowing ourselves, again, our own selves to be filled up and encouraged with people that love you, and also pouring out all that we have every day on people that want to be poured out to. And again, I'll go back to fueling your own ride. Like you can't pour out of an empty glass. So if you don't set some time aside for self-care and to build yourself back up, it's hard to love your passengers and keep building. Connection and care are the two things that put this all over the top. If you truly care about somebody and you're truly connected with them, you will move heaven and earth to make sure that they have a better experience for them, and they'll do the same in return for you.
Exactly. And I think that's the key right there to a healthy relationship. As going through trauma, looking back at so many unhealthy relationships I was involved in, that was the key. It was all about them and what they needed, and never about what I needed or what they could do for me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Next rule is drive with purpose. I think we kind of hit on this too, of we have to decide for ourselves what we want. Do we want positivity, or are we going to settle for the negativity? What do you want out of your life? And I have said before in episodes, this healing journey is not easy. It is difficult to get through for everyone. You said that just getting up in the morning, sometimes that's a difficult thing to do sometimes, but when I do it, and when I practice the things I need to practice, and when I build those strong relationships, it is so worth it to have that positivity and happiness in my life. So it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to get in the driver's seat. It's hard for some of them to even get on the bus, right? But wow, once we get to our destination, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think, driving with purpose, this rule and all of John's stuff is people don't get burnt out because of what they're doing. They get burnt out because you forget why you're doing it. And purpose drives that. Like, why am I getting up? Why am I doing that? And I will throw in, John Gordon worked with Damon West to do a book called The Coffee Bean. And it talks about a carrot, an egg, and a coffee bean. And those are three types of days that we all have. We want to be a coffee bean every day. Because life and what you're going through and all these folks are going through is life's a pot of boiling water. That's what it is. What happens to a carrot when you put it in a pot of boiling water? It gets soft and mushy and melts, right? I mean, on the surface, I always think of Bugs Bunny. When he pulls a carrot out of the ground, it makes that crack, right? It's
Right.
hard. It seems tough. When you put it in a pot of boiling water called life, it gets really mushy and just kind of disintegrates and falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
We have carrot days where you wake up strong and think everything's going to go, and then just life happens and you melt.
Right.
What happens to an egg when you put it in boiling water, right? It's hard on the outside, but it's got this malleable heart in there that's all soft and mushy. You put it in life, pot of boiling water, and it gets really hard and bitter. We have those days where bitterness creeps in on this journey. No matter how far along you are on the journey, you're going to have egg days.
Right.
The goal is to be a coffee bean every day, because what happens to a coffee bean when you put it in boiling water? Well, it's not water anymore. It's sweet nectar from the gods. It is coffee.
Right.
It transforms the water, right? So coffee beans aren't transformed by the environment they're put in. They transform the environment. That
Great
is the
point.
goal. That's the journey that you're on. You're going to have carrot days where you're transformed and you get all mushy and just like fall apart. You're going to
Right.
have carrot or egg days where you get hard and bitter a little bit and all the things. It is understanding in those moments to stop. I'm having an egg day. I better stop myself, better check, reset so that I can transform and give everyone around me and myself the energy that I deserve.
That's a great point. And I've mentioned in some of my episodes about that healing journey that, sometimes we're heading down that path. Sometimes we get distracted and take a side route, or we're too tired to go on. We have to stop and take a break. It's like the carrot days and the egg days. It's okay. It's normal. That's acceptable. But again, we go back to that perspective. Okay, so what are we going to do with that now? Are we going to become a coffee bean, or are we just going to stay there as a carrot and an egg?
Right. It's perfectly fine to have those days. We all have those days, moments, times it's not okay to live in them. It's not okay to stay in them.
Yes.
And I think as the journey goes, some people just go, this is just what it's going to be. No, it doesn't have to be. Again, that goes back to the next day. Wake up, make your choice for you, drive your bus and say, I'm going to drive toward a more positive future.
For sure. Which brings us to the last rule of have fun and enjoy the ride. Embrace the journey and not just the destination. So don't just focus on, I have to be healed by next week. I have to get over all of these issues that my parents put upon me. I got to change my whole mind. Everything has to change and everything has to be done right now. I'm 15 years into my healing journey, and I don't want that to sound discouraging to anyone that, oh my God, it takes that long. Are you kidding me? It's just a process. And I have moved forward on that journey the entire time. Sure, there's been a few slowdowns. Sure, there's been a few times I tripped over something, but it's so been worth that process. So don't let your bus run out of gas. Don't let it break down. Keep your engine going and enjoy that ride and stay on that bus.
Enjoy it. I said to people all the time when they ask me, how are you doing, right, in life? And I'll say, I'm living my best life.
Love that.
The reason I say that is and then I'll follow up because they will look at me like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, well, it's the only one I've got. It's the only one I've got. No one's proving to me that reincarnation's real. So this is the only, this is not a pretense.
This is it.
This is the real thing. So I've got to choose. Right. And again, if reincarnation is real, I'm coming back as a whale anyway. So I'm coming back to just make the biggest splash in water that I can.
There you go. Love it. Love it.
But yeah, I always say living the dream, or I am living my best life because this is the only one I got. I got to make the most of it.
It's funny. I say living the dream every time someone asks me that. Yeah.
I think you can see
living the dream every day.
Right here. Right
there it is. Yes.
That's my
living the dream.
So
I love it.
So,
I need to put that in my office as well. Yeah. I need to get an office first. But anyway, that's another conversation. So I can't thank you enough for being here today and talking with me. All good stuff. Is there anything else you would like to tell our listeners before we stop today?
No, I first of all, I want to thank you. This has been incredible. It's an honor to even be thought about having this conversation. And I would just tell everyone, just keep moving forward. Every step is a step, every inch is an inch. Keep on your journey. Find a way every day to surround yourself with the people that make you want to get out of bed and find your purpose. And again, as rule number 10 says, have fun and enjoy the ride. Not every day, all day is great, but you can find joy in every day. and
Absolutely.
embrace those
Absolutely.
moments and just keep on the journey. And I greatly appreciate the time.
I can't thank you enough for being here. It's been a wonderful conversation. And anytime you want to come back, just let me know.
You let me know. I'll be happy to.
All righty. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure getting to talk to Adam today, and I hope you enjoyed it too. The big takeaway here is that no matter our situation, our past, or our present, we have the choice of how we will respond to all of that. We are the drivers of our bus. Are we going to drive it down the road of positivity or negativity? Even the road of positivity can be bumpy sometimes, but it is a road that can lead you to brighter days. Check out my website, breakingoutborders.com, where I will post the books by John Gordon that we talked about today, and a journal prompt to go along with today's episode. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thanks for listening.